So now we're on Daf Ayin Dalid Amid Beis. And the Gemara is now going to ask a kasha from Rabbi Eliezer in our Mishnah to Rabbi Ami. Because Rabbi Ami explained Rabbi Eliezer that a Yavam could be Mephir, but only after he performed Maimer. So you have a woman who felt the Yibum, and she's a Shomeres Yavam. And according to Rabbi Abi, the authority or the power of the Yavam to be made for Nedarim, according to Rabbi Eliezer, is limited to a case where that particular Yavam performed the Maimer of Kesef Ushtar, generated an Iser on the other Yavam, right? We had Ruvain and Shimon and Levi. Ruvain dies. His wife Leah falls to Shimon for Yibum, and she falls to Levi for Yibum. Shimon went ahead and did a Maimar. Now, Rabbi Eliezer, according to the interpretation of Rabbi Ami, allows the Yavam who did the Maimar, meaning Shimon, to be made for 100 Dor. Tanan, we learned in that Mishnah, on Rabbi Eliezer, Uma im Isha, a regular woman, the Alma, right? Shekana li'atzma, that the Baal was Makadish her, and she became his Arusa, Hareu Meifenet Doreha, is now in the case of Yavama, Shehiknu Lov in a Shamayim, he didn't even have to do an action to perform and generate Ishus. Min HaShamayim, the Ishus was Chal, is Einodin Shem Meifenet Doreha. How much more so he could be made for an Adorim. Now, it's clear from Rabbi Eliezer that we're not talking about Maimer over here. Ve'i b'makom sh'asav ha'Maimer kano li'atzmahu. How can you tell me that here it's hikna min shamayim if it's a case of Maimer and we're going according to the Shita Beit Shammai that Maimer is kona doraisa? Then we're talking about who kano li'atzmahu. We're not talking about hiknu lo min shamayim. And the Gemara answers shekana li'atzmahu al yidei shamayim, meaning that his kinyan of Maimar is predicated and standing on the shoulders of the Zikas Yibum, which is Hikna Min HaShamayim. So in other words, even before he made the Maimar to be Konaha, she already had a Mixas Ishus, shall we call it, a relationship with him, the Yavam and Yivama, because of Zikas Yibum. Now the Gemara wants to be Poshet, the suffix of Rabbah from the following. Tivsha. From the words of Rabbi Eliezer in our Mishnah, we should be poshet the boy Rabbah. Rabbah had a suffix, he vacillated about the Shita of Beit Shammai. Beit Shammai was the one who said that Maimer is Kona b'Yavama minat Torah. That's the power of Maimer, even in the case of a Shomeres Yavam. And now Rabbah has the following vacillation. Maimer lebeit Shammai erisin oseh, o nisuin oseh. Is there a need for Mesira l'chuppah, according to Beit Shammai, in the case of Maimar? Why? Since there's already a Zikas Yibum, so there's already a Mixas Ishus, now he does a Maimar. So if you combine A plus B, the Mixas Ishus that is generated by the Zika Min HaShamayim, together with his Maisa Kiddushin of Kesef or Shtar, now she jumps a step and goes right into Nisuin, and there's no need for Chuppah. Oh, Nisuin also. I'm sorry. I explained the second side first. The first side is Erisin also, meaning she still needs Mesir l'chuppah. The second side is no, she doesn't need Mesir l'chuppah. And she's already Ishto, Nisuaso, L'chol Davar, even before Mesir l'chuppah, because the combination, as we said before, of Zikas Yibum plus Maimar, that creates a full-fledged Ishus. And the Gemara says, Kifsho to Nisuin also. I'm going to prove to you that according to Beit Shammai, once he does the Maimar, it's equal to Nisuin. The Erisin Osa, if the only achievement of the Maimar would be Erisin, and she still needs Mesir l'chuppah, Tanan, we have the Mishnah back on Daf Samach Vav Amid Beis. It says, that the Oris could not do a one-man job and be made for alone. How could Rabbi Eliezer say that through Maimon, the Yovam could be made for Levado without the Shutus of the father? That's impossible, because she's still in the state of Erison. So Tifshal Tinisuin Osa, if the father is out of the picture, and according to Rabbi Eliezer, the Yavam who performed Maimon can be made for Nedarim as a sole effort, it must be because the father was bumped off the radar screen, and the Nisuin was already chal, even without chuppah, and they were rejected over Rav Nachman by Yitzchak. Really, it's possible that there's only Erison here. Umay Yofer, what did Rabbi Eliezer mean when he said that after Maimar the Yovam could be made for? Yofer b'shutnas. Ima'am. Tanya nami hochi, ki Rabbi Ami. Now the Brisa is going to support Rabbi Ami that Machlokas Tanoim and our Mishnah is in a case where the Yavam performed Maimar. Shomeres Yavam Bein Yavam Echad Bein Shnei Yavam Rabbi Eliezer Omer Yofer. So it doesn't matter whether or not there's only Shimon as this one single surviving brother, or there's Shimon Levi. In both cases, Rabbi Eliezer says that the Yavam could be made for the Nedarim Rabbi Yeshua Omer. I agree with you if there's only one Yavam, and that is Shimon. But V'lo l'shnayim, or not if there's Shimon and Levi, two brothers that survived. Reuven, Rabbi Kiva Omer, the third sheet is Lo li'echad v'lo l'shnayim. A Yavam cannot be made for Nedarim of the Yavama, even if he's the only Yavam. Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer argues by presenting the following Kabbalah Chomer. Uma im Isha, in the case of an Arusa, she'en lo chelik bo ad shelo tavi l'shuso. It means that the Arus does not have a kinyan in her before chuppah, before Nesuin. So Kedushin does not really generate a full-fledged kinyan. And nevertheless, from the moment Misha means when he was Makadisha, Basler Shuso, she is in his Rishus. Like, for example, he can be made for Nedarim together with the father. His Nigmarulo, right, his chusman Nedarim Fafara with the father together already emerges with Kiddushin, with Erison. So again, before the Erison, he has absolutely zero. He doesn't have any Rishus, any Chelek in the Rishus of his wife. But through Kiddushin, at least now, to some extent, she's Bas Lushusa because he can be made for Nedarim with the father. Isha, being a Yavama, says Rabbi Eliezer, she yesh lo chelek, ad shelo tavi l'shusa. In other words, even before he performed Maimar, the Zika itself creates a rishus of the Yavam, is Misha Bas l'shusa. So after he performs Maimar, Eino din shetigmar lo, if he has the authority to be made for Nedarim through Erison, when he started before Erison with 0, and he jumps all the way to 50, from 0 to 50, and now he can be made for Nedarim with together with the Shutzis of the father, is how much more so in the case where before the Kedushin, she's already, to some extent, his wife, she's already in his Rishus, there is a bit of Zika Sibum, and Yesh Zika, is how much more so that he could be made for Nedarim. And here the Ran adds b'shut v'sima'av, but Tosas Pirshu should make for levado in Maimer Nesuin Osa. On that side, that Maimer creates Nesuin, she leaves the Rishus of the father entirely, and he, as a sole effort, could be made for Nedarim. The af im Erison Osa, are made for levado k'sha'omad b'dinu baruch. Okay, that's going to be Rav Pinchas. We didn't get to that yet. Anyway, you see logically that we could deduce that Rabbi Eliezer is based on Maimar. I mean, the whole push of Rabbi Eliezer to allow the Yavam to be made for the Nidre Yavama is totally based on Maimar. Rabbi Akiva rejects this Kavachomer. It's a lot more of a kinyan if he himself initiates the kinyan. And therefore he can be made for law. And that's because Kshem she'en lo chelik ba, kach ein lacherim ba. Before Kedushin, no one had a chelik ba. And now, Tomar, you want to derive conclusions about the case of a Yavama who fell to two Yavamim for Yibum, the Isha Shehik Bilam Shamayim, that he can be made for 100 Darim, and Shekeshem Sheyesh Lo Ima Chelik Kach Yesh Lacherim Chelik, but there's another Yavam, and she's kuka to all the Achim, to all the brothers, and one brother could come forward, and even though it was Levi and he didn't do the Maimar, and it was only Shimon who did the Maimar, yet he can create an Ishus that would answer her onto Shimon. Oh, Rabbi Yeshua Kiva Dvarecha Vishnei Yavamim. I accept your logic, says Rabbi Yeshua, in the case where there's Shimon and Levi, two brothers. And therefore there's one brother who has a chelik ba. And since he has a chelik ba, therefore there's no power of hafara. But at least you should be molded to me, says Rabbi Yeshua, that if there was only Shimon and there's no Levi, there's only one Yavam, that certainly ein lacherim chelik ba, how much more convincing should be the logic that he should be able to be made for Amalo. Klum chilak al Yavam echad al shnei Yavamim bein she'asa b'maimar bein she'lo b'maimar. So Rabbi Akiva responds to Rabbi Yeshua, you want to make a chiluk between one Yavam and two Yavamim. Did you make a chiluk between asa b'maimar and lo asa b'maimar? Ukeshar dvarim kei nedarim. In other words, the din of a Yavama is not like an Arusa if there was no Maimar. And therefore, let's derive the conclusion the same thing should apply to Nedarim, that she doesn't have a status of an Arusa, and the Yavam can't be made for a Nedarim, even if there's only one Yavam. So again, Rabbi Yeshua's argument was, okay, you're talking about Acherim, Yesh Acherim Chelik, but that doesn't apply in the case where there's only Shimon. And Rabbi Akiva responds to Rabbi Yeshua, but wait a second. In the case of one Yavam, if he hasn't done a Maimar, then her status is not that of a Yavama. So what rights does he have, even if he's a single Yavam, the only Yavam, to be made for a Nedarim? If her status is not that of an Arusa. The Gemara on the next Amud is going to explain what Rabbi Akiva's answer was. But Ben Azai was so impressed with the power of Rabbi Akiva's logic. The Lashon is on Rabbi Ben Azai, Chaval Alecha Ben Azai, he speaks to himself in third person. Too bad, Shaloshimashti is Rabbi Akiva, that I wasn't Mishamish Rabbi Akiva. Now the Gemara is going to ask, what was the logic of Rabbi Akiva? Let's take a look here on the top of Daf Ayin. Tanya Kavosei Rabbi Amud. What was the raya from the Brisa that distinguishes between when he did Maimar, he did Maimar, the Katani, because it says in the answer, the response of Rabbi Akiva to Rabbi Yeshua, to justify that the Yavam does not have the power of Hafar according to Rabbi Akiva, Bein Shalosa b'Maimar, Bein Shalosa b'Maimar. So it seems like Rabbi Eliezer was basing himself and the rights of the Yavam to be made for the Nedarim only because he did a Maimar. And that's where Rabbi Akiva jumped up and said, what's the difference between Asa b'Maimar and Lo Asa b'Maimar? But obviously he was talking to Rabbi Eliezer, who made that distinction, and came to the conclusion that the Yavam, if he performed Maimar, could be made for 100 Darim. Now the Gemara wants to say there's a raya from the Reisha of the Bryce, the Inami Reisha. The Katani, let's prove that Rabbi Eliezer is based on Maimer as Rabbi Ami said he was. From the Reisha, the Katani, Uma im Isha, she'ein lo chelik ba'ad shelo tovel shusa. Misha nichnas lo shusa nigmar lo. That a woman, he has no chelik in her, no reshus over her before Erisin. And then after Erisin, he could be made for Nedarim. How much more so in the case of Rabbi Eliezer's Yavam, where after Kiddushin, meaning Maimar, he could be made for Nedarim, the Ilo Kodesh. But if you're telling me that there was no Maimar, what does it mean that Misha Nichnaso or Shuso Nigmarolo? The language of Nigmarolo does not apply if there was no Maimar. Because again, we're holding now that she hasn't yet entered into the Rishus of the Yavam until after Maimar. Is Tifshot Minei Kshosaba Maimar. The Gemara asks, what does it mean? Ukeshar Dvarim Kei Nedarim. What was the final response of Rabbi Akiva to Rabbi Yoshua when he said in a very cryptic, mystical way, Ukeshar Dvarim Kei Nedarim? What does that mean? Keshar Dvarim Kei Nedarim. And he's trying to prove that even if there's only one Yavam, he cannot be Mefer. What are these Dvarim that teach us about Nedarim? That Yavama is not considered Ishto. Amarava Hachiktani. This is what Rabbi Akiva had in mind to respond to Rabbi Yeshua. V'iyata moda she'ein chayovim skila kinara murasa. If let's say, right, there's an Isser of Losia, if a Zar has a relation with this Yavama and he violates the law, he's certainly not chayav as if he had a relation with a Namurasa. A man who has a relation with a Namurasa is put to death with the Misa of Skila. So you see clearly that a Yavama does not have the status of an Arusa. If she was an Arusa and Knuyalok Arusa Labaila, then the Baal, if somebody had a relationship with her, he would be Chayav Skila. So too, says Rabbi Akiva, with regard to how far is Nedarim, Keshem, just like Shalashar Dvarim, like meaning Chayav Skila, the Yavama is not considered Ishta. And if somebody had a relationship, he's not Chayav Skila, so too as far as Nedarim, she's not Ki Ishta, and he cannot be made for a Nedarim. And I'll prove to you from the language of the Mishnah that this is really the answer of Rabbi Akiva to Rabbi Yeshua. Actually, it's not a Mishnah, it's a Bryce. Ein hayivama gmura leisha kishem she'arusa gmura leisha. It means the Yavam is not knuyot legamre to the Yavam to generate a chiyuv skila if somebody else has a relationship with the Yavama, like the kinyan of an arusa lebaila, which generates a chiyuv skila if somebody has a relationship with an arusa. And that's what we have it for today. So tomorrow, Mirza Hashem, we'll pick it up on Daf Ayin. Well, have a great day.